Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and in this video, I want to show you how you can create your own sci-fi weapon sound effect using Faceplant by Kilohearts. So in this video, I'm actually going to do a sci-fi gun shot sound effect, and I'm going to go through layer by layer how I created it all within Faceplant. Like I said before, if you're new here, my name is David, and I like to create sound effects. So if you like to create sound effects, you're in the right place. And if you want to learn how to create better sound effects, you're also in the right place because I have a free little gift for you. It is my layering technique guide. It is a free PDF that I put together showing you 5 different layering techniques for creating better sound effects. So if you are new and you didn't know that layering is necessary, layering is really important in creating sound effects. It's kind of the magic key to making sound effects or making better sound effects. So if you want to grab that and learn how to create better sound effects, it'll be in the description below. So just check for that. All right, that's it for now. Let's jump right into our project and let's go. All right, so for those who have been on my channel for a while or have seen other of my videos, you will notice that I have recently started to transition into Reaper. So right now I am inside of Reaper and I'm going to be in Reaper for this entire project. So here we go. So this is the version of my sound effect that I'm going to be creating here. And let's just have a listen so we know what we're going to be creating. And then I'm just going to like remove everything and I'm going to start from scratch showing you exactly how I create it. All right, so this is the sound that we are going for. All right, so just a nice sci-fi gunshot sound effect. So let's start from scratch, from the beginning. I'm going to remove all the effects, all of the LFOs, everything, and just start from the first group that I have here, and then we'll do that. So let's do it. All right, here we go. So I've removed everything, all the effects also that I had on the side here, all the effects that I had in each lane, and this is what I started with. So this is the sound. I just picked a waveform inside of the evolving folder here. Called Melancholy. It doesn't really matter too much what you're doing here. What I wanted to start with here is the transients of the gunshot. So I find these all, usually have a lot of characteristic and really kind of pave the way for how the gun's shot is going to go. At least that's how I like to think of it, and that's how I like to start my designs. So that's what I was going for here. Okay, so the first thing I added was an LFO, and if we look at it, I just created my own custom LFO. So if we look at the design here, as you can see, it's just going up and down really fast, and it's going... I usually try to work within the first few milliseconds to create this shape here, because the first I think it's from between like 0 and 30 milliseconds or so, you create the transient of the gunshot. So that's what I'm trying to go for here. I'm trying to have this wide pitch variation right at the beginning so that you get this kind of kick. So let's have a listen. So I'm going to turn on OTT here. It's just going to help bring out a bit more of the volume. Same with trash. I don't have any kind of special preset. I've kind of just put it on. I took down the downward and upward compression to 0, and then I just put down the depth a little bit just to balance out the sound a little bit, but that's it. And then trash here, I just went to a drive, and I just picked a smooth overdrive here, and then I brought down the mix down to 50, and I even brought down the mix even more up here, so it's really not doing too much here. But as you can hear now, I'm starting to get this almost kick-like quality to the sound. Right, you can already start to hear that laser kind of effect. But what I'm really listening for is those transients to get some character there. So the next thing that I did, I had pitched it down by 12 here, by the way, is I added an analog waveform here, and I modulated it for FM modulation up to the phase up here. And as I did that, as I was shifting the phase, I also brought the harmonic down a little bit here, just so that the phase is quite a bit slower. You start to get this very kind of mechanical sound. Right, which is really great for this gunshot. I didn't necessarily want it to be strictly laser effects. I really wanted to have some sort of mechanical sounds to the transient. And that just really gives it that sound. So that's how I started off. This is the first thing I did right here. All right, the next thing I did is I added an envelope here, as you can see, and I modulated the harmonic of the analog here, which is modulating the phase for the shot here. And it basically just made the sound a bit more sci-fi-esque. And it really brought out those higher frequencies, so it's just going to punch out a lot more in the final sound. So that's what's happening there. All right, let's look at our second transient here. Let's see what we started with. All right, so for the second transient here, the second transient group that I have, it's just a plain sine wave. I changed the harmonic a little bit, and as you can see here, I did another LFO, like just my own custom LFO, because again, I'm working on the transients. So when I have that on, if I play it now, I get this cool like little laser sound. And this I want it to be more for the higher frequencies again. So I really want to punch out, not so much any kind of bass or anything like that. It's really just for those high frequencies. So once I had that, I wanted to add a bit more distortion. So I added a distortion filter here. Just makes it quite a bit thicker, which is nice just for kind of poking through the textures and layers that I'm going to add later. And then again, I did the same thing here where I am modulating the phase here with an analog waveform. So a bit less harsh. It's just a different characteristic to the sound. So now what we have together, we have our transient shots, our transients of our shot here. So we're still missing like the lower frequency bass, like the thump of the gunshot, but we'll get to that later. So the next thing that I worked on here was the actual body of the gunshot. And what I was thinking about for this one is that I want something more that sounds kind of like a cool off when you shoot the gun and then it kind of cools off, or you get the tail. So something along those lines is what I was thinking about when I was creating this. All right, so this one is a little bit more complex. I have quite a bit more going on here, so let's have a look. So I'm doing a few things with this one. So the first thing is I brought it down 12. I turned on the unison, and this one is really cool when you turn on the unison because you can just get a lot more flexibility in terms of the sound and the quality of the sound that you get. Right, you can get a lot of cool different sounds. I went with synthetic, so it sounds kind of like this. And then I'm modulating a lot of parameters here. So the first thing I'm modulating, you'll see here, is the frame. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm modulating with this one here. Yeah, right here. So with this LFO that I drew my own custom LFO here, my own shape. Again, I was kind of going with the same idea here that I want the transient to live within the first like 20 milliseconds or so. Too bad, I don't know if I can turn on the milliseconds to see how like short this is. I don't think you can because it's by hertz down here. But that's what I'm going for. So I'm making it play pretty fast within the first few milliseconds so that I get this transient going. So that's modulating the frame. For the unison, I'm also modulating the spread here. Again, using the same LFO. And then I added a whole bunch of different filters. So let's turn these on one at a time so you see what it sounds like. So these add a lot of characteristic to the sound. I'm actually going to turn on the distortion because I found that this sound was kind of soft and I really wanted it to kind of come out a lot more, especially because it's like the body of the sound. So I put it through a distortion here to start. Nothing too special, just saturation. Drive is about halfway up. And you'll see here that I'm doing two things. So I'm using, again, these exact same LFOs. And what I'm doing is I'm actually sweeping up and down with these filters. So I'm using the exact same filter here. It's just a kind of a notch. And then I'm sweeping down for one up here, and then I'm sweeping up with the other one. So I'm able to get these really complex kind of shapes with it. Now, this last one, I actually had another LFO. I think it's down here. Yeah, so this last shape here is another LFO that I did. And what I was trying to do for this one is to kind of have it tremolo effect going. So this is what it sounds like. So if I take it off. Right, and you can hear it in your left and right speaker that it's kind of is doing this tremolo effect. And what's cool about it is I actually had this modulated with another LFO so that the tremolo kind of changes speed over time. That's what this LFO here is doing. It's changing the speed of this tremolo effect. So that's what that's doing. So that's what this last filter is doing here. So if I take it off, sounds okay, but with it on, there's just a lot more movement in the body of the sound. Okay, so next I added a few effects here. Actually, these were at the very end, so I'm going to keep these to the end because just to show my actual process and what it kind of actually looked like. So that was basically this shot. this layer for the shot here. I'm also modulating the band limit here. This is just to add a bit more modulation. I don't think it's actually doing too much to the sound. Maybe doing a bit of a filter, but that's about it. You'll see here I'm doing a few other modulation. So one here is the pan, and I think it's this one here. So it's doing the exact same tremolo effect as I was doing for this filter, but I'm also applying it to the panning. So that's what you hear there. And then the last thing I'm doing is I'm bringing up the gain over time, because right at the beginning of the gunshot, you have the transients hitting, and then I want this layer here, the body of the gunshot, to come up and be the main focus of the sound. So if I didn't have this on, it would kind of be too far in the background. It wouldn't come out. So if I play it together now. But if I didn't have that kind of coming in, you would miss the whole body of the shot. So that's what that is doing there. Okay, and that's pretty much it for this layer here. Let's go to the next one here. All right, so let's listen to this one. So this is the thump. This is my my bass, my kick, if you will, to my gunshot. So let's see how I created this. So I started off with just a regular sine wave, nothing special. I added some distortion. So without it, it sounds like this. With it, and all I did is I modulated the pitch here using this LFO. If I look at the LFO, it's just going straight down. So it's just like an 808 kick, like how you would create a classic 808 kick. And that's pretty much it. There's not too much special going on here. I'm adding a bit of spread, modulating the spread, just so it's more wide in the stereo field, like in your left and right speaker. But apart from that, that's pretty much it for this layer. So now all together, let's have a listen. So we start to really feel that shot being made ready. Okay, last one here. I wanted to have something more distorted, some sort of distorted sound, specifically at the transient, so it sounds more like a gunshot. If not, it sounds like too clean and too pristine almost. And I wanted something a bit more distorted. So this is what this layer is. This is something I actually created myself. I just sampled it a few times, processed it. Anyways, I imported this in here, and then I did extra processing on it. So this is the sound. And then I added a few things. So one is distortion. I also added unison. I should take that off. Just making it a bit more wide, some distortion. I used the overdrive here, set the amounts, and that's pretty much it. And then I had a filter. So what's cool about this is I'm actually modulating the filter here, because I didn't want anything super bassy, because I already had my bass layer up here. So by putting these two together, it's a little too bassy, and I just didn't need that. So I took this off, and suddenly it just really made room for this kick of the gun to punch through. So I really didn't need that low frequency information there. So that's why I took it off here. And then I decided to modulate with this LFO again, this one right here. So I'm modulating the cutoff of the LFO here. So it's like that. So if I take it off, right? So that's what I'm doing there with this one. So now those are all the layers that I had. So if I put them all together now, this should make pretty much the core of the gunshot. Now, there was one more thing that I added, which was a random LFO. And this random LFO, if I'm not mistaken, is being applied to this shot right here. So I'm going to turn this on. Yeah, so it's being applied to the harmonic of the main body of the sound. And what I was doing here is that I'm really very lightly modulating. As you can see, this is only 1%. I don't want to click it because it's going to undo it, but it's just 1%. So I dragged the parameters here down, so it's only 1%. And then I applied it to 46% to this parameter. And what it's doing is that it's going to be shifting the harmonic of this wavetable every time I click on it, so that I never get the exact same pitch of the sound. So if I play the exact same note, it always sounds a little bit different, and that is what is making it sound different. So if I take this off, every time I hit the same note, it's going to sound the exact same. But now, just by adding this little random modulation here on this harmonic, it's always going to be a little bit different. So now I can get a whole bunch of different variations on this exact same gunshot sound. Now I could probably do this for all the other layers as well, and maybe I'll go back and actually do that. But that was my idea behind this. I wanted to make it a bit more randomized while still being the same sound effect. All right, so let's go through these other effects that I had here. These are just to make the sound a little bit fuller, a bit more sci-fi, I guess. So the first gunshot, or the first effects that I used were just for this the body of the gunshot. So this gunshot, this layer, I should say, is actually going into lane 2, and it's the only one going into lane 2. So it's the only thing being processed with this. So I added 4-man filter. It's just adding a little bit of tonality to the sound. I put the Q all the way down so you can hear it, so it can be more transparent, basically. I also added some comb filtering. And as you can see here, I am modulating that just with this ramp here, LFO. It just makes it a bit more sonically interesting. There's more stereo spread. It just makes it more interesting to listen to. And then finally, the flanger. And I just brought the mix down to about 50. And then I think most of these parameters were kind of default. I think I brought the motion up a little bit, maybe the rate up a little bit, but that's about it. And the spread. Again, you just get this movement in these stereo fields, so it just makes it a lot more interesting to listen to. So now, if I turn these all back on, and if I turn these off, see, it still sounds good. You can still use that. I just find with this, it just sounds so much fuller. Finally, the last thing I did here is just to add a bit of reverb to my transient. So this is to make it feel like it's in a space. So let's have a listen. And as you can see here, the mix is super low. It's only at 6 or 7%. It's just to place that in a space. That's basically it. And it's just for the transients, not for the body, because the main body of the sound here, the shot group 1, is actually going into lane 2 and not into lane 1. So this is not going into the reverb. Everything else should be going into the reverb, and that's it. So you kind of get this like reflection. It's almost like you're hearing the reflection of the transients off of the room that it's in, but not the body of the sound. So you get this cool kind of effect. And that's basically it. This is how I created this gunshot sound effect. All right, so that is it for this video. I hope you guys liked it and hopefully found it valuable, just being able to see kind of my process, my thinking behind how I created this sound effect and how I separated by layers and how I thought about each of the different layers. So yeah, hopefully you liked it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please let me know in the comments below. Just a reminder to grab that free PDF of those 5 layering techniques for creating better sound effects. And I think that's pretty much it for now. If you guys want to see some more gun sound design videos, I did some previously, so I'm probably going to link it up in the card up here just for you guys to see if you ever want to see it. But I think that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.